is the Cali B podcast, and this is where you learn how to own your opportunity. In today's particular episode, I'm going to be sharing my story with you guys a little bit. And for those of you that have been following me for a while, or maybe you know me, you know how my collegiate career ended. You know that I almost died. So I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to try to keep it, to a minimum of 30 minutes. I do have this broken down in a 4-part series. If you go way back into my podcast episodes, you can actually see it there, and then just click on it. And I would start with 1 and there's 4. So, all right. So here we go. Okay. So when I was a senior in high school, my mom asked me, what do you want to do? What do you want to go to college for? And I rodeoed. So I grew up rodeoing, and I flat out was like, well, either softball or rodeo. Like, I really love both of them. Okay. I ended up getting more looks in softball, and I knew, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is where I want to go. And I know for some of you, you're thinking your senior year, you decided that. Well, here's the thing. I didn't just turn a switch on. I feel like in today's day and age, everybody's like, okay, by 8th grade, she's got to have her Twitter going or her X going, and her Instagram, and she needs to be emailing coaches. Even though your coaches, these coaches can never email you until you're of a certain age. You're still almost like pushing this anxiety on kids and expecting them to handle it. Wow, that sounds like a lot of stuff right now. Okay. There was no switch. It was just I went out to every tournament. I went out to every game, and I played like there were college coaches watching me. I didn't have to be told to do that. I've been playing this game for a very long time. Well, I'm not playing now, but I'm 46, guys. So when I played travel ball, what you guys call travel ball today, it was called college prep back in my day. And what that meant was you were part of an elite group of girls within your area, within your state, and they wanted to put together these teams to go showcase at these tournaments. Kind of like baseball does. I wish we had more of these theories in softball today, but unfortunately what happens is we get a lot of coaches that can't cut it in baseball, and they think they can come into softball and coach it. And now we have the softball drama, trauma, all the crap that shouldn't be happening. If you can't cut it in baseball, don't think just because it's similar to baseball that you can come coach females, because it's totally 2 different things. Okay. I firmly believe that. Now, are there some good former baseball coaches that are good softball coaches? 100%. Okay. Coach Hayes just got the senior Coach Hayes, right? The head guy just got the Abilene Christian University job. Actually, let me check that. Make sure my wires aren't crossing, because that tends to happen in my old age. Like I said, I'm 46. I'm just teasing. All right, so let's see. Spell Abilene. That would be good. Stop it. Quit judging me. I just can't text today, guys. I'm sorry. Almost there, I promise. Yeah, that was just their page. Okay, there you go. Ha! I was right. Larry Hayes. Okay, just got the head job. Legendary coach Larry Hayes, who has won more than 1,900 college baseball and softball games. So he's done both. Okay. He's the new head coach of the ACU Wildcats. So yes, he's a great example of somebody who can coach baseball and then come into softball and do it. Okay. Not everybody can do it. It's not something that can be done. But I do genuinely feel that AUSL should have happened 30 years ago. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know why it took this long to get women's professional softball off the ground consistently like this. And Coach Mata and I, Brittany Mata, she's at UC Riverside now. She's the head coach out there. When she was coaching at South Mountain Community College, and then we actually coached a little bit together during that time. But before we coached together, we actually sat around and talked about how if the MLB would just put some money out to the softball, the fast pitch women's, right, leagues, we could be pro. And then look what happened. See, Coach Mata and I, we put that out there. If you listen to the episode before, you're going to get what I'm saying. We thought something positive and we got a positive result. So you can just thank us later. Just tease it. Okay. So yes, I feel like softball's kind of gotten away from the whole college prep type mentality. Okay. Now, if I could remember what I was talking about, that would help. My story. Sorry. All right. Now we're back. Back on track, guys. Back on track. Okay. So I ended up going to college playing softball. I ended up going to Seward County Community College in Liberal, Kansas. I was a part of the first softball team, okay? The first softball team ever that college had. And that college was known for putting out baseball and basketball players. Very competitive school. Okay. Anyways, in between my sophomore and junior year was transferring to Eastern New Mexico University in Portales, New Mexico. Had a really bad headache for 3 months, and to the point where like nothing would touch it unless I was sleeping. So my mom started to think, because every time she would call me, I would like bite her head off because I was in pain or she'd wake me up. She started to think maybe I had brain cancer, and it was Mets. So it was spreading because my whole personality was changing. I was very easily angered, okay? And it was just because I was in pain. And then finally one night, I started throwing up, couldn't stop. I remember looking at the clock, and within 10 minutes, I had thrown up 7 times. This point, though, I couldn't stand. So I was literally like crawling on the floor, trying to get back to my bed so I could get my phone that was on my nightstand and call my mom. And I told her I finally got there. It took a while because I literally would crawl and then I'd have to crawl back in the bathroom and throw up again. But every time I stood up, that's when the nausea would happen. Okay. That's when the chaos would start to take place. So I get back to the phone. I tell her what happened. She's like, have your roommates take you to the ER. I go to the ER. I'm literally having to like move, right? And I remember being on the doctor bed, the patient bed. Sorry, that wasn't the right term. And I was kicking my legs back and forth, and the nurse was like, stop moving. And I was like, if I stop moving, I'm going to throw up. And she was like, you have to stop moving because I'm getting your blood pressure. And I stopped moving and I vomited all over. I don't even know how this much vomit was coming out of me. Okay. Needless to say, she felt really sorry. She was like, I'm sorry. Well, no CT, no MRI, nothing was done. I was basically discharged from the ER with so much pain medicine that I slept for 16 hours straight. I had to be wheeled out because I couldn't step because I was so drugged up with pain meds. Okay. My roommates were listening to what these medical staff personnel were saying, and they were like, she's in college, she probably took a drug, like all this random stuff. And they were like, no, like she's a collegiate athlete, So anyways, I sleep for 16 hours. I wake up and I feel good for the first time. Okay. Now, when I say I feel good, I know I'm not out of the woods in this moment, but the pain, there was some relief. Okay. So I call my little waitressing job and I'm like, hey, can I just come in and host? I would just like to make, some money for the gas station, They're like, yeah, sure. Okay. So if you're watching this video, you're going to like this illustration. I don't have a brush over here, but I'll use my pencil. So pretend this is my brush. Okay. If you guys know what peripheral vision is, it's side vision, right? You're able to see without looking, you're able to see what's beside you. So I go to brush my hair. This is me in the mirror, not even making this up. I'm seeing myself in the mirror and I see myself come down, right? I'm brushing my hair and I start to realize I can't see this. And I do it again and I drop my brush and I look and I start okay, I can see it, can't see it. I can see it and I'm like, what is going on? Okay. I had lost peripheral vision in my right eye. So when I called my mom to tell her this, my mom has been in radiology since I was 3 years old. She knew something was going on. She just couldn't figure it out. Even when she did a CT prior to all this, right? Way before these type of symptoms started showing up. The headache was there. That's what first sparked her interest, right? There was nothing measurable on the CT. It wasn't like a tumor. It wasn't something tangible that they could say, that's what's wrong. They ruled out spinal meningitis. They ruled sinus infection out. Couldn't figure it out. But the moment I told her I lost vision in my right eye, she knew something was on the left side of my brain. Now, notice how I said there wasn't anything to measure. My mom, when she did the CAT scan, she saw something that was she couldn't explain it, but it didn't look right. She brought it to the radiologist's attention. He actually told her, I'm the radiologist, you're the tech, I know what I'm looking at, you suck. Didn't say it in those words. Basically told her no, stop. My mom knew. My had so much medical experience and seeing what she'd seen, listened to patients and their symptoms. She knew something bigger was happening in my brain. Okay. So lose the peripheral vision in my brain. My mom blows up a neuro center. They literally fit me in on the doctor's lunch break. I believe it was on that Tuesday. And I just remember the trip. So all this happened on a Sunday. I started throwing up Saturday. Everything happened Sunday. Maybe it was Monday I went. I'd have to ask my mom. I think it was Tuesday. I could be wrong. I should write a song. I just rent. But anyways, that trip was one of the hardest trips I ever had to make because I couldn't sit up. I could barely walk. I had to lay on my back with my knees bent, my feet on the ground. And that's the only thing I could do to keep myself from throwing up. That's crazy, huh? That's so crazy. So we get there and they do a spinal tap. If y'all don't know what a spinal tap, it's literally a needle that goes in between your vertebrae and they take your spinal fluid out. They test it. There's a lot of answers in it. Well, your pressure is not supposed to be over 24. Mine was 29. So they knew out of the gate there was something sitting on my brainstem. They couldn't figure it out. The CAT scan didn't show anything that was done prior to. So they put me in the MRI machine. Nothing was there. They thought for sure there was a pseudocyst, which is a fake tumor sitting on my brainstem, which that's what was causing the headache. That's what was causing the nausea. And then I don't know if you guys know this, but anything that happens visually, like your counter side is always the culprit. So that's how my mom knew, because something was happening visually with my right eye. There was something wrong with the left side of my brain. And it would have been vice versa. If I had lost my peripheral in my left eye, it would have been something in the right side of my brain. Okay. So back then they did MRVs in such a way where they would actually inject a type of dye or ink, okay, into your venous, your arterial system. Nowadays, they just go through and they're able to like image-wise cut out the arterial system and the doctor can dictate on that. Now, if you're wondering like, whoa, coach has a lot of knowledge, y'all. I was an ultrasound tech for 17 years. I've worked in radiology departments, for 17 years, but I also grew up in them too, because that's what my mom did for years. So I've been around diagnostic medicine pretty much my whole developmental life. Like, I don't know. I walked away from ultrasound 5 years ago. No, is it 5? 6 years ago. 6 years ago. Yeah. So I've always been a pitching coach on the side. It's been something I've done, because I love to do it. And when we moved to the Valley in Arizona, my husband's like, go full time. I was like, yes, let's do it. I've been doing it since I was 18. Let's do it. Okay. So anyways, the MRV reveals a huge blood clot in my left sagittal sinus. So you have, it was in my venous system. It wasn't in my arterial system. So basically where your brain like bifurcates. And so your left hemisphere gets blood and your right hemisphere gets blood. It's where it separates. So it bifurcates. Okay. There was a clot like right at the bottom of that, like right out of the bifurcation, big enough that it was starting to lean over on my brainstem, which was causing all my symptoms. Here's the craziest part. It was out of 100%, okay? It was 98% blocked, which means I didn't know this at the time, but my mom told me later in life that the doctor told her that she saved my life. He said if she wouldn't have had the medical background that she had, the knowledge that she had, because it was 2% more and I would have been dead, I could have either A, died in my sleep, or B, dropped dead from a sneeze because the pressure would have caused the clot to explode. So an aneurysm, and I wouldn't have came back. So that clot was like a blessing in disguise. Yeah. Okay. Now in this time, it was not for me. I was very angry that sorry, my nose is itching. That was not part of the plan at all. Okay. So I get put into ICU head trauma. I was there for like 7 days, 14 days. I don't know why I see 14 now. I think it's just age. Your brain just plays tricks on you. But anyways, I was there because they didn't know whether I was going to make it through the night. And the Barrow Center, which is a big neurology center down in Phoenix, down here, okay, they did not want me. They were like, if we do surgery and we lose a part of that clot, the size of that clot is so big. If we lose a part of that clot, she's going to have paralysis for the rest of her life, which means the right side of my body, I wouldn't be able to move it. And I was 20 at the time. So they were like, we're literally going to diminish her quality of life. So they weren't willing to do surgery. which I'm grateful. They were smart about it, but they took a risk. The hospital took a risk because I don't know if you guys have ever been affected by blood thinners in a negative way, but there are medical cases where blood thinners are the only thing that can be administered in certain situations. And the gamble is you don't know if that person is going to bleed out internally or you're going to cause another clot. Like, there's just so many unknowns. So they pumped me full of blood thinners. And I didn't know this. I didn't know how scary this was till afterwards my mom told me. And they were able to send my blood off to the lab because they were like stripping down everything, like a collegiate athlete, like she's a healthy 20-year-old. Like, why did this clot, come about? They were thinking that like when I was born, like during the delivery of myself, when my mom was having me, they had to use the forceps, right? Because I was stuck in the birth canal. C-section was out of the question. I was already halfway, like I was making my way, but I got stuck and they used the forceps. And my mom was like, they jacked her head up pretty good. So they were like, well, maybe there was trauma from that. And there was a clot that, it just never healed. Or we don't know. Let's send her blood off for genetic testing. Ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. That's when they found that I actually have a rare genetic clotting disorder. I have one strand from my biological father, and I have one strand from my mom. And together, that makes me and a protein S and a protein C deficiency. So I have a protein S as in snake, protein C with a cat deficiency, which means my blood lacks the capability of keeping it thin. It wants to clot. Okay. So on to blood thinners I went. And it's crazy. They seriously think their best medical guess was it took 20 from the time I was born, because it's a genetic anomaly. They think it took 20 years for the dam in my head, right? The clot. Basically, it's a dam. It was basically not allowing blood to come through to the other side. Okay. That's why I was having all the symptoms. So like I said, on to blood thinners I went forever, which NCAA, I was a liability. They said, you can't play. I was like, but I won't pitch anymore. I'll play right field and I'll look like a catcher. I won't even hit anymore. Like, I'll give up. I'll let somebody DH for me every single time. No, they said no. They said one hit is all it takes and you're done. And then you're a liability and we have to pay for it. In that moment, that was the worst thing that I could imagine what happened to me. I remember being so mad at God. But now, goodness, 26 years later, I'm like, thank you. Thank you for redirecting me and putting me on your purpose, right? Because as far as I could see, I was going to be a teacher. I was going to have summers off and I was going to play ball every summer and I was going to play minor league ball. And then I was going to try out for Team USA. That was the plan. I did not foresee getting married, having kids. I never was that girl. Like, I can't wait. My wedding dress. And if you are, I love that for you. I don't know, just wasn't part of my plan. But that's the thing. It's not my plan. It's God's. So now, as you're listening to this, if you're watching this, I can sit here before you and say, I've literally been coaching for almost 30 years. And I've been blessed to have been able to coach during my senior year of high school, as well as my first 2 years of college ball. And I'm so grateful I did. I think the biggest thing for me was that first week when I was home from the hospital. The only thing I knew to do was to keep moving forward. Now, my mom put that in me at a very young age. You keep moving forward. You don't stop. Okay. And I remember going to the gym. The gym has always been my happy place. Again, if you've been following me, you know I love health and fitness. You know that I did bodybuilding in my latter 30s. That was so cool to do, by the way. Would I ever do it again? I don't know. It's tough. I was 1% of the population. Okay, that's a pretty cool thing to say, right? But I went to the gym and I don't know if you guys remember those calf machines that you had to like get up underneath and come up. So I was getting ready to come up and I went to reset the pin and the guy who was on it before me didn't have the pin in there all the way. So it fell on my head. I have a scar back here. 175 pounds, literally. First day, I had been home, I think for 2 days. And then by that third day, I was like, I'm going to the gym. I'm not going to sit here and do nothing. and newly to blood thinners, had a blood clot in my brain. They said it was gone. 175 pounds on my freaking head, right? My ego was hurt. So I went to the bathroom and I, talked to myself in the mirror like everybody who gets hit on their head in public does, right? Try to play it off. And I go to itch my neck and I'm like, ooh, whoa, that's blood. And I start, following the trail. And sure enough, I had like a little bitty mouth back here from where the corner of it hit my head. And I just remember thinking, okay, from this moment on, you have to tell people you're on blood thinners forever. In fact, if you're watching this, you're going to see this. This is just like one of those little medical alert bracelets. I should wear it, but I don't. But I have it all set up in my phone. If you do have a medical condition and you have a phone, please set this stuff up on your phone. It's important. Like if I get in a wreck, which I've been in a wreck before, and what's crazy is I never said I was on blood thinners because I was in full on, side note here, the 2 wrecks that I was a part of, literally got smoked in a parking lot. The kid said, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong pedal. The second one, my daughter and I were at a light, her first day of 6th grade, complete stop. We got boom, nailed. And each time this happened, I get out of the car and first I make sure my daughter's safe. Are you good? Safe? Yeah. Get out. I go render aid. Are you okay? Are you okay? What happened? First kid, I hit the wrong pedal. I'm so sorry. The second kid, I'm so sorry. I was on my phone the entire time. I didn't even see you. I was so worried about them. And I never said I was on blood thinners. So I'm very grateful that nothing crazy happened during those times. The second time, though, I had whiplash. That was a gnarly experience. But that's not today's podcast episode. Today was my story to tell you guys, why my college career ended, I've went toe to toe with coaches who think they are the ish because they played D1 ball. Girl, you ain't nothing because you played D1 ball. I'm so proud of you, but that doesn't make you better than me, and this doesn't make me better than you. I'll never forget, my daughter was playing 10U softball, and this coach went toe to toe with me after the game. Okay. We got to talking and she just kept saying, well, I played D1 ball. That coach over there played D1 ball. What did you play? And I told her, I was like, well, I was playing JUCO and I was going D2. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to finish because I almost died. I threw a blood clot in my brain. It almost, I almost had an aneurysm. They kind of had a clotting disorder. Homegirl said, everybody has a story. When I told my daughter this, she was like, how did you not hit her, Mom? I'm like, girl, number one, it's not about me, right? I represent Jesus, okay? And I also represent my business. First and foremost, Jesus, though. Who would I have been if I would have popped her in the face? What? And the human in me, come on, y'all. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you. I did want to, but that's not who God called me to be. So I wanted to be a professional softball player. I wanted to play in the Olympics. Watching Lisa Fernandez and Dot Richardson and Michelle Smith play when I was 14, before they went off to the Olympics, that was the biggest moment in my softball career where I was like, I could do this. So I didn't need to be told that, hey, when you're in 8th grade, you need to start building a recruiting page because coaches are looking. I went out to every game because I loved to play. It brought so much joy to my heart. I loved it. I'm a gamer. I love the fact that my daughter's a gamer. I'm so lucky to have a daughter who loves softball. I'm so lucky to have 2 boys that love baseball. That's huge for my husband. We're both collegiate athletes. No, we did not meet in college. I'm kind of a cougar. He's 3 years younger than me. I was already in my career life when I met him. But we did meet on the slow pitch field. He literally came out of the left side, third base side of the field. True fact. So I wanted to share this story with you guys because I think sometimes there are coaches out there who have so much to offer, but you guys subscribe, you buy into other people's opinions because you think you need to, have this pedigree, this resume. Girl, God already built your resume. He won. He sent his son to die on the cross for you. Jesus won. The resume is there. If you have a passionate coach, do it. Do it. But don't mistake your emotional outburst for being passionate. That is not passionate. That is just dumb. Have some breaks. Pump the brakes. Nobody should be that. Guys, I have been coaching for almost 30 years and I have coached with some really good coaches and I have coached with some like I want to hide and I don't want to be seen walking with you type coaches. Okay. So there you have it, guys. That's why I never was able to finish my collegiate career. That's why I played JUCO ball. Back then, JUCO was the route. Like, you went JUCO to go D1, D2. That was it. That's what I wanted to do. So I hope you guys enjoy this little story time. I'm sure it's well over 30 minutes. I didn't set a timer this time. But if you guys do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You guys can always shoot me a message to my website at callibsoftball.com. That's Callie like Sally, V as in Victor, softball.com. Or feel free to follow me on all socials. Okay. I'm on the gram. My daughter's going to kill me. Callie B Softball. Okay. TikTok, YouTube. Okay. Follow my podcast. Subscribe to this. When you do that, you actually become a part of the big picture here at KVS. What is that? Well, the big picture here at KVS is to basically share my knowledge, my experience of being a ball player since I was 4 years old, having a mom who was my first coach. My mother played ball, right? And I coach now, and I've been able to coach my daughter. And I'm getting to a point in my life where I'm not having to be in positions to where I don't need to coach. I don't need to coach her, so it's kind of cool. Like high school season, I didn't coach her this past high school season, and that was pretty dope. That was interesting to be there. And for the first time in her career, that was pretty cool. So with that being said, you guys subscribe to the show. You're just helping out people just understand that softball is just a game you get to play. It's something you get to do. It's something you get to choose to love to do. And this game does not owe you anything at all. And when you can play with a type of freedom like that, or you're going to fly. You're going to fly. All right? Subscribe to the show. As always, guys, I appreciate you for listening. Take care and God bless.